Anatomy of a Modern Conflict, a comedic analysis. Welcome to today's Explainer, guys. We're going to be breaking down a hilarious, highly visual, and honestly surprisingly profound stand-up comedy routine all about the harsh realities of couples moving in together. Let's dive right in. Do you also think the bathroom should be completely dry after a shower? Our journey begins with a question that has literally divided households for generations. I mean, it sounds simple, right? But as our source material reveals, this single, damp piece of real estate is the exact battleground where romantic illusions go to die. Today, we're tracking how an incredibly ordinary trip to the bathroom triggers a cascading sequence of events. And you know what? It reveals some pretty deep differences in how men and women process conflict, logic, and surprisingly, even sleep. Expectation, pillow, for romantic pillow fights, versus reality, cushion, which firmly translates to do not touch. Before the fight even kicks off, the groundwork is laid by completely shattered expectations. The source material points out that when you first move in together, your idea of cohabitation is, let's face it, heavily influenced by movies. You expect this cute, romantic montage. You think you're going to have playful pillow fights, throwing stuffing at each other. But the reality hits you with a massive vocabulary change. Those soft things on the sofa? Yeah, they are no longer pillows. They are cushions. And the number one rule of a cushion is you do not touch the cushion. It's purely decorative. Just like that, the romantic illusion is instantly replaced by strict home decor regulations. Step 1. Take a shower. Step 2. Feel accomplished. Step 3. Get called back in 2 minutes. Okay, this brings us to the exact trigger of our conflict. Here is the deeply flawed male logic sequence we're dealing with. He goes in, takes a shower, and steps out feeling incredibly accomplished, like the mere act of bathing was some massive contribution to the household chores. He's thinking, I've showered, I've done my part, please don't ask me for more. But then, 2 minutes later, she goes into the bathroom and immediately calls him back in. His crime? He left a bathroom wet. To him, a bathroom is quite literally designed to be wet, right? That's exactly why it has a door. He had zero idea that drying the bathroom was some secret prerequisite for exiting it. Personal attack is the best kind of defense. Caught completely off guard by this brand new household rule he definitely never signed up for, his brain just scrambles. He feels defensive because, frankly, he genuinely didn't know he was doing anything wrong. And in that moment of absolute panic, he relies on a deeply flawed, highly defensive internal logic. Instead of just apologizing or, grabbing him up, he decides to go fully on the offensive. The logical defense strategy. Let's break down the exact and disastrous argument he goes with. First, ask if she knows how to shower in a wet bathroom. He looks right at her and says, "You're a grown adult, don't you know how to stand and shower in a wet bathroom?" Then, point out she was going to get it wet anyway. He's basically saying, if you turn on the shower, it's going to get wet regardless, so why are we even arguing? After delivering what he truly believes is a flawless, undeniable piece of logic, she actually goes quiet. And step 3, walk away feeling victorious. He genuinely thinks he's landed a clever punchline, resolved the whole conflict without a fight, and he walks out feeling like a winner. But, spoiler alert, this is building into an absolute disaster. At 6 p.m., the massive scolding begins. By 6:10 p.m., her machine gets warm. And at 6:13 p.m., he enters dreamland. See, his perceived victory was just the calm before the storm. She quietly takes her shower, steps out, and then absolutely destroys him. Just look at this rapid escalation timeline. Exactly as the sun goes down at 6 p.m., the lecture starts. 10 minutes later, her fighting engine is really just getting warmed up. She is hitting her stride. But notice this insane 3-minute gap. By 6:13, he is completely checked out and asleep. The argument basically goes from 0 to 100 and then immediately smacks into a brick wall of unconsciousness. Female combat stamina, which is high capacity, versus male mental capacity, essentially functioning on low GB RAM. What's absolutely fascinating here is the brilliant tech metaphor used to explain why he actually falls asleep. It's not that he doesn't care at all, it's a hardware issue. The source points out that women generally have an incredibly high capacity and stamina for emotional combat. A 6-foot guy can literally be brought to tears by a much smaller woman simply because of pure endurance. The male brain, as it's humorously described here, operates on really low GB RAM. When it's faced with a heavy, complex, highly emotional file, like a massive evening argument, the system just cannot upload it. It flat out crashes. And how does the male body reboot? By falling asleep. Zach, you cannot. This creates such a hilarious dynamic. She is right in the middle of passionately articulating her points, demanding his attention, actively yelling, "Zach, you cannot fall asleep right now." But it's entirely out of his hands. His brain is actively shutting down against his will. The sheer comedy here is the helplessness of a guy whose biological hard drive has simply run out of processing power in the face of all that female combat stamina. 8:30 a.m. So, the night eventually passes in silence. But you know the conflict is far from over. We transition to the very next morning. The exact second his eyes flutter open at 8:30 a.m., the nightmare resumes. There's no good morning, there's absolutely no coffee. The pause button that was pressed at 6:13 p.m. the night before, yeah, the play button is smashed at precisely 8:30 a.m. The scolding picks up right where it left off without missing a beat. I hate sleeping with a fight. So why is she so aggressive the second the sun comes up? Well, it's because of this terrible piece of internet advice that has completely fueled her wrath. The source notes she read somewhere online that couples should never go to bed angry. Because he fell asleep, he basically violated this sacred internet rule. The incredible irony here is that by trying to forcefully resolve the fight before sleeping, she just carried all that anger straight into the next morning, ensuring the fight survived the night anyway. 30 seconds. Look, while she is perfectly coherent and aggressively making excellent logically sound points, he is completely lost. He makes a desperate plea for some basic human consideration. He just wants 30 seconds, a brief 30-second buffering time the moment he wakes up before the yelling resumes. He totally admits that everything she is saying is 100% correct, but he just needs half a minute to literally remember who he is and where he is. Morning buffering thoughts. Did Dad leave without me? Do I have to go to school alone? Where's Mom? And finally, whose house is this? Why does he actually need this buffering time? Because his brain is completely trapped in a hilarious childhood school trauma loop. During those first crucial 30 seconds of waking up, he isn't a grown man in the middle of a relationship argument. He's a panicked kid. He needs that buffering time just to successfully download his current adult reality. Make overthinking an Olympic sport for women. Eventually, she heads out to the office, and we finally enter the resolution phase of our explainer. Left completely alone, he playfully suggests that if the Olympics ever actually added overthinking as a sport, women would sweep the gold medals for sure. Because while she fought with incredible passion and energy, the literal moment she leaves the house, her brain shifts gears. She starts overthinking the entire interaction and slowly begins feeling incredibly guilty for yelling at a poor, defenseless, sleeping person. A direct apology versus the normalizing phone call. This brilliantly illustrates a massive difference in how conflicts are resolved. When she feels guilty, she definitely doesn't just do a direct apology. You are not going to hear a straightforward, "Hey, I'm sorry I yelled at you while you were unconscious." Instead, she employs the normalizing phone call. She calls him from work and just starts talking about completely random, mundane stuff to bridge the gap. It's basically a verbal olive branch disguised as everyday chatter, totally designed to test the waters and normalize the situation. The Zara sale dilemma. Fuchsia pink pajamas, a beige sweater, a terrible color combination, and size small isn't even available. The specific absurd details of this phone call are just pure comedy. She urgently calls him to discuss a Zara sale. She tells him she's looking at fuchsia pink pajama bottoms and a beige sweater. He's just listening, thinking, wow, that is a terrible color combination. And to top the whole thing off, she starts complaining that her size small isn't even available to purchase. She has literally constructed an entire conversational bridge out of an imaginary online shopping cart just to make peace. If you don't like the color or the style, why add it to the cart? Hearing this entire fashion breakdown, his male logic suddenly kicks back in. He asks an entirely reasonable, super logical question. Wait a minute, you don't like the color, you don't like the style, it's not even available in your size, so why did you click the button to add it to your cart? I mean, it's a totally fair question, right? But her answer, that she is just thinking about it and might buy it eventually, that completely sets up the ultimate punchline of this entire explainer. Cart zone, the modern evolution of the friend zone, adding someone or something to your list just because you are thinking about it and might acquire it later. So here's the grand comedic realization: women don't put men in the friend zone anymore. Guys, the friend zone is entirely outdated. Welcome to the modern era of the cart zone. Just like that hideous fuchsia and beige outfit she doesn't really want but keeps in her Zara cart just in case, men are now being added to the cart zone. You are literally being kept on a list, hovering in the background, simply because someone is thinking about it and might just decide to acquire you later when a better option isn't available. Are you in a committed relationship, or are you just sitting in someone's cart? It's kind of a hilarious yet honestly slightly terrifying thought to end on, right? It perfectly caps off this crazy journey from a wet bathroom floor to a profound realization about modern dating dynamics. So, we're going to leave you with this provocative question to ponder. Look really closely at your life right now. Are you genuinely in a committed relationship, or are you just comfortably sitting in someone's cart waiting for the checkout? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep your bathrooms dry, and we'll see you next time.